Right, everybody through. Hi folks, how you going?
Minister, are you on the list for the Ministerial Oversight Group, or do you have an ACT representative on that, on fuel?
Yes, we do. ACT is represented by Rock van Velden on that.
And are you hoping that there's some kind of action out of that group when it meets today, or is it just a check?
Well, I think you've got to ask, are there sufficient reserves in the country? Are there changes that could be made? Certainly from meeting with Z Energy yesterday, there were issues that they raised that could be changed and could make things better for them. I don't want to go into what that is, but there are things that they can do, yes.
Have you seen reports that there's a report that South Korea may invoke a clause that would allow it to halt all petrol exports? Have you got any advice on that, on how bad that would be if it happened?
Well, there's always the possibility that other countries will ban exports and that will reduce global supply. Then our job will be to make sure that we keep supply pumping, even if some of our traditional sources stop temporarily.
Do you accept there's a huge hole in the funding of blood cancer treatment here?
No, we've actually put up the funding and we've allocated it as effectively as possible through Pharmac as an independent funder. I recognise that people would like to see a lot more money going in. When I started, we had a huge fiscal hole. We put in nearly 1.8 billion to fill that hole. We've since allocated another 600 million. So we've actually increased funding by about 600 million a year, because those figures are 4-year figures. So 600 million a year extra since I've been the minister. And we've got a budget coming up and we hope to get more. And then we can start to look to fund some of these medicines that I recognise, duratumumab for example. People want it, and I hope that we'll have enough money to fund it in the future.
Does it concern you that our blood cancer doctors are moving overseas specifically because of underfunding of medicines?
Yeah, it's enormously worrying, but it's part of a wider story. We need New Zealand to be a wealthy country that can afford all the things people want. At the moment, Australia is wealthier, they have more of those things. So this is part of a wider picture. My job as far as farming is concerned is to make sure that we get as much money as possible within the government budget. The last couple of budgets, I think we've done pretty well.
New Zealand sits right at the bottom of the OECD for funding the kind of blood treatment that's normal elsewhere. Why?
Well, I think it's a long-term problem. Over 30 years, New Zealand got to that position. Medicine funding has increased by almost a half increase, or 50% increase since I've been in there. But I accept that we're not there yet. We're on a long journey, and we've made good progress for 2 years, but I know it's not enough.
Do you accept it feels like a broken promise to blood cancer patients when Shane Detty said at the last election, when he made that same promise that you funded for the 12 cancer drugs, he said to blood cancer patients then that, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you, we just need the documentation to back it up. That documentation from the Cancer Control Agency came more than a year ago, and still there's not the same promise fulfilled.
Yeah, look, I think New Zealand first promised to double Pharmac's budget. Shane Detty made some very specific promises. My promise has always been to get Pharmac working smoothly and increase the budget wherever possible. I can only speak to that.
What do you make of New Zealand First putting out just now that they want a select committee inquiry into the vaccine mandates?
Well, there's clearly a group of New Zealanders who feel like they weren't seen and heard by their government at the time. You saw that with the big protest. If this could help them feel seen and feel like finally they've sort of been welcomed back to a society they saw as having ostracised them, maybe it could do some good. So I'd keep an open mind about it.
So is this something that Winston Peters brought to the government, to actually have it as a government position? Because he's obviously done it as New Zealand First Leader, but you seemingly support it.
Well, the government can't really control select committees. They're supposed to be independent of us. I'm not aware that we've discussed it at a government level, but nonetheless, he's welcome to put in select committee inquiries too. All right, thanks, guys. Hey, Chris, there you go. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Hey. Yeah, sure.
Are you familiar with a guy called Kawhai Reti?
Kawhai Reti?
Yeah, apparently Dr. Some hematologist on behalf of wrote to the government last year about upping the funding for people with blood cancer.
I think I know the one you mean, yes.
See him doing anything about it?
Well, we've increased medicine funding by $600 million a year since I've been in office. We're also taking budget bids every year to get more money to fund medicines, and if we give Pharmac enough money, they will eventually fund all the things that people would like to see funded and that people need funded. That's what I'm doing about it.
So have you feel about the fact that he was told that he would not live past January, but he's now in Australia getting treatment. He's going to be there for a while. He's had to separate from his wife and children. What do you think about that, having to go to Australia to stay alive?
Well, Australia is a wealthier country than New Zealand. They can afford more things than us, and sometimes that doesn't really matter. They have bigger TVs, so what? When they have more medicines that save lives, that's when economic growth starts to really matter to a lot of people. And so it's critical we grow the economy, it's critical we run Farmac well. I'm committed to doing both those things.
What do you think about some of those recommendations in the COVID Royal Commission about publishing like a fiscal resilience sort of statement by Treasury every few years and then sort of resetting the fiscal buffers? Would you particularly that first one that I mentioned, would you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, look, I think you can get paralysis by analysis, and bureaucracy doesn't solve every problem. I think the message that has to come out loud and clear is the government doesn't have any money, it only has what it taxes from current people and what it borrows so it can tax off future taxpayers. That's the only money it has. You get that simple principle, you might not need the extra bureaucracy.
So you're not, so you're not in a hurry to adopt some of those fiscal recommendations. I suppose philosophically you're keen to reset the fiscal buffers, but that specific one.
Yeah, I mean, we just need to spend less money. I mean, it's actually not complicated. You can have all of the reporting you like, but if you don't have a commitment to a smaller, more efficient government, then you're going to be in the same problem. I mean, you look at the Fiscal Responsibility Act and the Public Finance Act did not stop the blowout during COVID, and yet we're told that further amendments to the Public Finance Act, might do that. I'm not sure.
Okay. Real quickly.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Chloe's just told me that in theory, because you guys shared different opinions on the social media ban, that sometimes your views on the internet are aligned, and that she would theoretically be open to working with ACT in sort of an internet-based framework, regulatory sort of ways. What would you think about that? What do you think about the fact that you were the two parties that were deferring here?
Well, I mean, look, I don't really have anything to say about that. Our position on the social media ban has been very clear. We've led that debate throughout. We called for the select committee to be held, and we continue to wield influence around the cabinet table. But if Chloe and the Greens have got something to add, I guess we'd look at it.
Because I know that you came at it from very different angles, but arrived at a similar conclusion. Do you often find that the Green Party's ideas around the internet are similar to the ACT Party's?
No, I mean, I think that was probably true maybe 10 years ago. But they've become increasingly radicalised, intolerant, and really harder to work with over that time. I remember when I used to have very good relationships with a lot of people in the Green Party. We worked through legalising euthanasia. You look at them now, they're out chanting things that are anti-Semitic. I mean, they're not the same Green Party they used to be, and it's a sad thing.
Do you have any thoughts on Ginny Anderson being given the education portfolio?
Shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic.
And any thoughts on St Peter's call for a select committee into the vaccine injured?
Look, I mean, people have a wide range of views, but there are some New Zealanders who didn't feel seen and heard, and perhaps one role the select committee can play is to help them be seen and heard. It might not be a bad thing.
So you support it?
Well, I think we should be open about it. I know a lot of people will dismiss it out of hand, but I think we should just be open that a lot of people felt they were ostracised from the society, and if this helps them feel seen and heard, then it might not be a bad thing.
Do you have the Prime Minister's support on that? Has it been discussed?
Well, no, I mean, it's a select committee, so it would be the National Party. There's no government position on this that I'm aware of, but let's see. Thank you very much. Cheers.